Hello viewers, I'm SB and welcome back to Solo Board Game Time here in Tabletop Simulator, where today we're going to be trying out the solo mode of Anachrony. As you might have guessed from the name, this is a board game about time travel. I think it is super cool. I played it last week and I had a great time with it, and then reading a little bit more about it online, I discovered that the kind of people who play a lot of board game solo modes seem to think that this is one of the best ones, so I'm really excited to get into it and try it out properly, and of course, to share it with all of you out there. So, before we get started, I always like to say this at the top of these board game videos. Tabletop Simulator is a great way to try out a lot of board games for free. But if you play a game on Tabletop Simulator and you just think it's awesome, please purchase a retail physical version of the game. You gotta support the people who make the things you love. Board game making is not a high-margin business. These guys are not rolling in money, and if you want your favorite designers to be able to eat and live indoors, both of which are crucial parts of the board game design process, you gotta make sure you're showing them some financial support, right? Alright, let's start playing. We'll explain the gameplay systems as we come into contact with them throughout the first round, and at the beginning, by the end, great start here. By the end of the first round, hopefully, you will understand how to play the game, provided that I understand how to play the game well enough to teach it to you. So, this is not the whole thing. Let's zoom out a little bit more and get the player boards. There's a lot of pieces, a lot of components. It's a very me sort of game. Don't worry, you will get it. So I've done the preparation phase of the first turn already, the sort of a simple mechanical filling resource pools and stuff phase. So we're just going to zap right over to Power Up. This is the phase of the game where you power up your awesome mechanical exosuits. Because why would you not lead with the awesome mechanical exosuits, right? So here's the deal. This is a worker placement game. These are our workers here, these little, sales tag looking guys. This is what a worker placement space looks like. You'll notice the tag fits right in there. It's just the perfect shape. But looking at the main board, there aren't any spaces that are that shape. I mean, not really. Ignore these for a moment. That's because the outside world is a terrifying, hazardous place, and any worker who wants to go out there and do work is going to have to do it in a great big mechanical protective suit. So over the course of the game, we will be acquiring more spaces for our player board in this area, where we can just have workers do stuff, but anybody who wants to go outside has to get in one of these great big exosuits to do it. So during the power-up phase, we power up suits for workers to use outside. Each of these bays can hold one mech suit. You can see these top three have no printed cost. We get 3 mech suits powered up for free. The bottom ones, however, we have to pay for. If we want to put a mech in this slot, we have to pay a power core. And if we want to put a mech in either the right or left bottom slots, we have to pay a power core or 3 water. We are definitely just going to go all the way here. I guess I set aside my power cores already, because I knew I was going to do this. We're gonna power up all the way. Just trust me, I think this is the right thing to do, especially early in the game. It's really important to be able to get onto the main board and do stuff. Our opponent, meanwhile, the inscrutable and terrifying Chronobot, which is a time-traveling robot that was built with its face in its stomach, I think mostly to confound us, is going to power up all of its exosuits as well. Don't worry too much about the iconography here. For right now, all you need to know is the bot powers up all 6 of its suits in its special little vertical power-up bay here. And then we enter the warp phase. So this is the first time the time travel mechanics come up. Let's talk for a moment about the timeline. This here is the timeline. It is made of 7 timeline tiles, and also this thing, which is not a timeline tile, and we'll talk about it when we get closer to it. And these timeline tiles let us track where time shenanigans have occurred. What we're going to be doing during this phase is placing up to 2 of our warp tiles onto the timeline to call resources backward from the future. This is a worker placement, engine building type game. So of course, small resource advantages early in the game will snowball into big resource advantages later on. It's a good idea to pull resources back from the future, but you have to make sure that at some point later, you actually put forth the effort to send those resources back. Because if you don't, you're opening up the door for time paradoxes, and eventually, with enough of those, a real temporal anomaly, which can have all kinds of terrifying consequences, like a loss of victory points. Shock and horror, right? What could possibly be worse? So, we're going to have to be a little bit careful with the timeline, and of course by that I mean we're going to abuse the holy heck out of it. So, at the beginning of the warp phase, the AI is going to start, because the AI has started in the first player position. You can see that here on the board. Whoever's flag is in this space is the first player. The AI does inscrutable things with time. It just rolls the die here, and this tells us how many warp tiles. Okay. The AI places one warp tile out onto the timeline. Then we get to place, between 0 and 2 inclusive, tiles of our own out onto the timeline. I think we're going to go pretty big here. We're going to go with these two. Don't worry too much about why I'm doing this. Hopefully you'll understand the context for this before the end of the round. So we're going to call for these resources. A purple neutronium cube and one administrator. This is the symbol that means an administrator worker. So we will grab a cube of neutronium and one of these guys. And whenever you bring a worker back through time, the little icon here on the tile reminds you, it dehydrates them badly, and you have to spend a water on the other side here to keep them from, presumably, dying horribly or getting sucked back into the time stream, or who knows. For whatever reason, we have to pay a water. So, down here on the board, we have our workers. You can see there are two columns of workers. Over here, with the open eye, this is the ready column. These workers are able to be assigned to tasks. Over here on the other side of the board, we have the tired column. These workers have done something already, and they cannot be assigned to a task again until they are refreshed. Here in the middle of the board, we have the complicated iconography of the refresh action. For right now, don't worry too much about it, just know that refreshing usually costs a whole bunch of water, and so that's why we want water really badly, and we're going to be putting forth a lot of effort to make sure we have water. Okay, so that was our warp phase, all done with that. Now we are entering the action rounds. This is the worker placement phase where the vast majority of the game takes place. So, the AI is going to go first, and on the Chronobot's turn, what it does is it rolls the mysterious Chrono Die, and then it performs the action associated with the token, or the action space associated with the token that has that number on it. So action number 4 is currently do the construct action and build a life support module. So the AI takes one of its Chronobots out here, plays in the construction area, and builds one of these life support buildings. We'll talk about all these building types in a moment here, because we're going to be building shortly. But let me make sure I got the rules for this right. When the AI does a construct action, it wants to take the building of the listed type with the largest victory point value. You can see both of these are worth 2 victory points. And if they're tied, the one on the right stack. Okay, so the AI builds this building. The AI does not pay costs for stuff usually, and it doesn't actually interact with its buildings very much. It's using them for who knows what. Who can understand this mysterious mind? So it just puts that in there. That's worth 2 points for it. And then after it has completed its action, the token that we used slides along the arrowed path here. So you can see there's 3 action loops that it's executing. And I don't think I've ever played with a game. I've ever played a board game solo mode that works quite like this before. So I'm actually really interested to see how this works in practice. All right, and then it is our turn. So we're going to start by taking a recruit action. Let's talk about what the actions are a little bit here. We'll explain them from right to left, because they sort of like increase in complexity as they go left. Over here we have the mining action. So you can see at the top of each column of action spaces, there is a list of the 3 worker types and what those worker types do in that space. So scientists or administrators who do the mine action just do it normally. You place your exosuit with your worker on one of these 3 spaces, and you get a cube of the type that is associated with the space, plus 1 cube of your choice from the limited resource line over here. Engineers also do the job, but when you take an engineer back from this space, they go back to your ready line instead of to your tired line, which is a pretty big deal, because readying workers all the time is, first of all, expensive in terms of water, and secondly, it's a pain. You gotta spend workers to do it, and it's nice to have people ready to do stuff. Over here, we have the construct action, which, as you saw, allows you to make a building or allows you to build a super project. The super projects over here are much more expensive than normal buildings. They're very powerful, and you can see they have quite high victory point values associated with them. But like, these costs are really, really significant. This would cost 2 titanium, plus 2 gold, plus 4 water, plus some breakthroughs, and we'll talk about those in just a moment here. As compared to, say, for a normal building, maybe just 2 titanium and a water. Buildings cost... The cost of a building is based on the space you're building it in, rather than what the building actually does itself, as you're sort of fitting it into your habitat systems. And you build in the leftmost spaces first, and then further and further out to the right. If you play on a space that has resources in it, that is a cost. To play on this building space will cost us 1 water, and we will probably do it if the AI doesn't block us on that. And then up here you can see researchers build as normal, administrators cannot build at all, and engineers, who do the building action, give you a discount of 1 titanium on what they're building. Then we have the recruit action. When you take the recruit action, you get to pick one of the workers from this line over here and put them directly into your ready line, ready to do stuff, and you also get a little recruiting bonus based on their type. Researchers bring you water, engineers bring you power cores, administrators bring you victory points, and geniuses bring you any one of those rewards you get to choose. The genius is special because they are a wild. A genius can do any job as though it is any one of the worker types. It's important to note that it's not one of the worker types, though, and so it's not the other worker types, so you can't pay costs that require a worker of any other type with a genius. For example, if a building tells you you have to pay an administrator to do a thing, it must be an actual administrator. That doesn't come up very much, but one important place where it will come up is in paying the cost for time traveling that administrator back. We're going to have to use an actual administrator to pay this off, rather than a genius. So that's a thing that's important to remember. And you can see here, scientists cannot recruit, administrators can recruit anything, engineers cannot recruit geniuses. So the reason I pulled in an administrator at the beginning of the game is because we did not have one before, and I saw there were geniuses in the recruit pool. And then over here you have the research action. This is how you get breakthrough tiles. You can see only researchers and geniuses can do this. There are 2 dice here that describe the traits of a breakthrough tile. They have a shape, circles, triangles, and squares, and then icons on them. So when you take this action, you get to set one of the 2 dice to whatever face you want, and then you roll the other one, and that tells you what breakthrough you get. Breakthroughs are worth a point each, so just having them is valuable. But also, super projects always have breakthroughs as part of their cost. So you can see this one requires the cubes and the water, and also the square breakthrough with the picture of people on it, or any triangle breakthrough plus any circle breakthrough. So over the course of the game, you'll accumulate a couple of these and then hopefully be able to actually use them to buy off a thing. So yeah, that's pretty straightforward. Up here, we have the World Congress tiles, the World Congress spaces. With the World Congress space, you can play either construct or construct or recruit or research, but you can only play an action that has all of its spaces already full. This World Council space costs a water to play on. This one costs 2 water to play on, but it also makes you the first player, which can be pretty valuable sometimes. I mean, there's a very limited number of these contentious spaces here, right? So it can be very easy to get blocked out if you're not first. And then over here to the left, we have these larger hex pool spaces. These are not exclusive, they don't get blocked. Any number of suits can be played into these, and they're pretty straightforward. This one gives you 3 water unless you have a scientist do it, in which case you also get another water. And this one allows you to pay any of these resource costs into it to get out either of the resource values that are adjacent to the cost you paid on the wheel. And if you did it with an administrator, you get to make a second trade after that. So we're going to start with a recruit. I want geniuses very badly, and I went and put all the effort into getting a guy specifically so that we would be able to do this. I think it is very important to have some geniuses. And when we get our genius, we get to pull one of the recruitment bonuses. I think we're going to take a power core. We're going to want to have at least one power core available every turn, since we do have that one suit dock that only accepts those. So I think that's a pretty decent move there. Although, maybe we're going to end up recruiting another engineer later. You know what? That's fine. If we end up accumulating a stock of power cores, I'm okay with that. Alright, the Chronobot takes a second turn. It rolls a 6 and gathers 2 water, and then moves its token. I'm going to try really hard not to forget to move the token, but that is almost certainly a thing I'm going to space on occasionally. Okay, our action. So we could just go right back up there, use our genius to recruit the other genius. Honestly, I think it's important enough. I'm willing to do that. So it will cost us 1 water to play in that space. And we're going to go ahead and grab you. And you know what? When I grab you, I'm not going to take a power core. So it's 2 water or a power core or a victory point. We're going to grab 2 more water. Water's very important. You don't necessarily need it every turn even, but on the turns when you do need it, you usually need a lot. Okay. AI, what do you got? The Chronobot is doing action number 2. Build super project. Okay, there's no way it can do that. So let's see here. No, maybe it can, because you know what? The AI doesn't really pay costs, right? So let's see. When using the construct action, the Chronobot takes the one with the highest victory point value. Oh, that's not a super project. That's the lab. This is the super project icon down here. I'm being silly. Okay, so the AI is going to play construct again, and it's going to take a lab. That's the lab icon. It grabs the available lab with the highest victory points. So it is locking us out of those build spaces pretty quickly. There are still the World Council spaces available, but if we don't build something now, we're maybe going to be in a pretty tight spot here. So I think that it behooves us to do that immediately. Let's throw an engineer in here and go. We're going to play this space. So that's going to cost us 2 water, but we are going to take the first player spot. Stuff is extremely contentious, and I do not want you being first player. Okay, and then we are going to take a build action. So there's a couple of different types of buildings that I want to get online as quickly as possible here. The 4 types of buildings are power plants. Time travel requires a massive surge of energy, so power plants are used to power your time travel. Factories, which are mostly about resource trades. You can see this one requires an engineer to be played and turns 3 water into 2 power cores, which is a pretty favorable rate of exchange. And this one lets you turn water and uranium into neutronium, which is hard to get a hold of. There are life support systems, which mostly are about water generation. This is not 100% ideal, but I think we're going to take it because we really desperately need ways to generate water. And then labs down here are a little bit... they're a little bit wilder, they're a little bit more random. There's a lot of different effects in the lab pool. So we need a power plant to power our time travel, and we also need one of these. And I would like to have built both this turn, but there's a pretty good chance the AI is going to lock us out of that. So if we're only getting one, which one's more important? I guess the question is, how much water do we have? And the answer is, not all that much. So we're going to build one of these. So, like I said, the cost for a building is based on the slot you're building it into. And remember, we sent an engineer to the build space, so we do get a discount of 1 titanium. Alright, there we go. And now we have a worker space where we can pay a neutronium to get 8 workers. Or to get 8 water, which is probably a thing we're going to do. Power plants require neutronium to build, which is why I wanted to grab that early. But I think this may end up being how we use it. That's a shame, because neutronium's not easy to get a hold of in the early game. Okay, so that's... yeah, that's our turn. What do you got? He's going to roll a 3 and take the mine action. Alright, so let me make sure I got this clear. Mine resources. When taking the mining action, the Chronobot always takes resources it does not have yet following the cube priority listed here. If it collects a set of all 4 cubes, it trades them in for 5 victory points. Same deal with workers, just trades in sets. So it's going to go to the mine, and it prefers neutronium, then uranium, then gold. Okay, so it can play in the uranium space, and then it can take a gold from here. So it's going to be doing this thing fairly frequently, I guess, except that neutronium is tough to come by. Alright, my turn. So, the build space is still open. If we don't take it right now, we're going to have a real hard time getting a power plant up soon. But if we build a power plant, we won't have the neutronium to run our water generator. We'll have to trade for some neutronium, probably. You know, it's not the end of the world. I think I'm going to do that. How many? We have 4 workers available and 3 suits. So that's somebody, the engineer to build, somebody to go and do the trade that gets us the extra neutronium, one of our scientists probably to actually run the water generator, and then somebody to do another... oh, yeah, that works. So we're just going to go ahead and play this space and take a second build. And now we are very poor on water. So, power plants. Let's talk about these power plants. We have Plant 113. Commit any worker, spend X basic resources, that is gold, uranium, and titanium, to send your focus back up to X spaces and then gain X VP. So let's talk a little bit about how focus and time travel works. Time travel to pay back resources. This is our focus. By default, our focus is in the current era. But using a power plant, we can move our focus token backwards on the timeline. And then after we have moved it back to a timeline tile that has our warp tiles on it, we can pay back the warped resources to remove the warp tiles from the timeline, which is important because that stops them from generating paradoxes. So this is a thing we want to have access to. This thing's really interesting. It's very expensive to run it. You can see the other power plant tile has no cost at all. But this one does let you just generate, or it lets you convert arbitrary amounts of resources into victory points, which is pretty cool. The thing is, it's so expensive. I think we're going to build the one that has no cost. So this just lets us set our focus token up to 3 spaces back, and then do the thing. And we are going to pay the cost of neutronium plus 1 titanium, because remember, the engineer gives us a discount, plus another spent water. Okay, it's important to establish some time travel early, but that hurt. Alright, Chronobot, what do you got? You have a 4, which is the recruit action. So you cannot recruit. There is no recruitable space available. Anytime the AI tries to take an action and cannot, it instead, first of all, the token does move, and secondly, it gets 1 victory point and 2 water. For some level of scale, when we played our first game, all the players scored in the 50s, and it looks like, based on what I saw on Board Game Geek, like good players, experienced players, will have like the winning score in a game be in the 70s or 80s. So little bits of points building up here and there are not irrelevant. This is not a game where that's going to get completely lost in the noise. Alright, now it is our turn, and I think... what do we want to do here? It might be like Genius goes here... actually, it doesn't need to be the Genius, though, right? We only want one exchange. We're just going to turn 2 cubes into a neutronium. So yeah, we don't need to spend a Genius on that. Let's have our scientists go out and trade with the nomads out in the real. We will exchange 2 basic cubes for a neutronium. And then it is your turn. And you have rolled a 5, which is get 2 water. Okay. Alright, and then we know that we're going to run our life support system, but I don't know that it matters. Like, it's not contentious, right? Actions on our board can probably wait a little bit here. So what do we want to do first? Well, you know, one thing I am thinking is that if we use one of these workers to run the water plant, and the other one to do something fancy out here, we may end up in a situation where we have no workers left. So this is a good time to talk about the refresh action. There are 2 ways to refresh your workers. That is to move all of the workers that are currently in your tired column over to your ready column. One way is to give them supplies. You can spend a worker here to distribute water, and then you pay an amount of water that is equal to the value underneath your morale tile here, your current morale level. So for us right now, it would be 5 water. And then you refresh all your workers, and you move your morale up. And as you can see, morale is worth victory points. Negative morale is worth negative victory points. The other option is you can use this free action here to ready all of your workers without giving them water, which lowers morale, forcing them back to work without supplies, as you might imagine, has effects on morale. As your morale goes down, you lose points, but also refreshing gets cheaper. And also, this is an action space that does not require a worker, so you can do this even if you completely run out of people. Basically, I'm thinking there's like 2 things available to us here. We could have somebody work this, and then use our last exosuit to go and research, do a breakthrough, and try to pull one of the breakthroughs that's relevant for these. Or we could have our scientist work the lab, and then send our genius out in a mech suit to gather resources from the mine. Because they would get to come back from that in the ready state. So they'd get us some stuff to build with next turn, and then at the beginning of next turn, all of our workers would be in the tired space except for the one genius who could pull the distribute water lever. I kind of think I like that. I don't really want to move the morale token backwards if I can avoid it, you know? So I think that's what we're doing. So let's just go ahead and send you out right now to gather titanium. The AI is missing titanium, and also all buildings cost titanium no matter what. So I think we're just going to grab the titanium associated with this space and also the other one out of the line. We'll definitely use it at some point, and keeping it out of the AI's hands seems like a decent idea. Alright, and then the AI takes a turn here and rolls a 1. So it builds a power plant. AI is building very aggressively this game, so the weird fancy power plant goes over here. Oh no, sorry, no it doesn't. The AI can't do that. There are no construction spaces available. What it does instead is gain a victory point and 2 water. So it definitely has enough water to fire its refresh event. And of course, the AI's workers don't, the robots, they don't care about the water. but it still gets victory points for having refreshed. So, okay. That is good. Oh, you know what? What does this lab actually do? That might be a one-time effect that fired immediately. Oh, no, okay, that's a passive that increases the range of power plants by 1. The AI doesn't use its buildings, I believe, so I guess it probably wouldn't have mattered either way. Yeah, it just puts the buildings in the stack and ignores them, so it wouldn't have mattered either way. Whatever, it's fine. Okay, so, victory point plus 2 water for you, and then it is my turn, and I'm going to have my scientist here crush up this deutronium and get 8 water out of it, so that's 7 right there. And we'll grab another one of these. Okay. And we managed to, like, pretty perfectly use all of our workers and our suits. I'm, like, actually very happy with that. And now it is the AI's turn, and they have rolled a 4. They would love to construct a thing, but they can't, so they get a victory point and some water. So here's how the round ends. The AI will pass if it runs out of mech suits. If that doesn't happen, it will just keep playing until you pass. When the player passes, phase 5 of the turn ends immediately. So that's what's happening now. It's my turn, I pass, phase 5 over. And we enter the cleanup phase. We retrieve all of our workers back to the tired zone. And then after doing that, we retrieve all of our mech suits back to the charge-up stack. Any mech suits that were not actually fired, that are still sitting in the bays, also go back to the charge-up stack, I believe, at this point, so make sure you use them. And we had our one worker who was at the mine, who goes back to the ready line instead, which is very important to our strategy. And then we get all of our suits back. And all of the chronobots go home. And the AI did not have a hugely productive turn, except in the sense that it got a bunch of VPs and stuff. And I guess it built 6 victory points worth of buildings. That's pretty significant, I suppose. Okay, so check for impact. It will be time for the impact at the end of the 4th era. That's what this tile represents. So here's the thing. There's a meteor coming for Earth. It's a big one. We know about it, and we don't have a way of stopping it. So that's a thing that's in our near future. Then check for game end. Nope, the game did not end. So we move on to the next era. So let's start round 2, the preparation phase. First of all, we refill the mine and recruit pools. All of the workers that didn't get recruited and all of the resources that didn't get resourced get cleared out here. And we deal new cards to fill up those spaces. Ooh, neutronium in the mining area. That's definitely a thing that we care about a lot. And 3 titanium, so the AI is going to get its titanium. We gotta make sure they don't get that neutronium, though. And, oh, wait, I dealt one of these already. We'll just shuffle those up. So, scientist and engineer and 2 administrators. Then we reveal the next super project, the Continuum Stabilizer. What does that do? I don't know how to read that iconography. Fortunately, there's a very good appendix here. That is, immediately when built, return up to 3 of your warp tiles from up to 3 of the timeline tiles to your supply. Yo! Okay, this is the thing that I saw in the multiplayer game that I played, but I forgot the iconography. That seems very powerful for fixing our paradox-related problems. You're about to see in a moment here why it's bad to have warp tiles out. And then our focus tile moves up to the new era. It is now era 2. Anything else? Ah, yes, the building stacks. So, in each of the building stacks, the thing on top of the left stack just moves over. Any building that is face up is buildable, so you can always build whatever's on top of the left stack and what's on top of the right stack, and building off of one reveals the things below it. So nothing is ever really discarded. you know, the buildings from the beginning of the game are still there if you can dig down to them. Man, that's a pretty okay factory. Yeah, we'll have to think about that. What do these other super projects do? Welfare Society is pretty straightforward. It's just administrator plus a water makes your morale token move up. Seems pretty great. This is get 2 research actions, I assume. The neutronium... Indeed, you immediately when built, take 2 standard research actions. That seems pretty good. So, one thing I should clarify about this is when you take the construct action to make super project, you build the super project in the era where your research or where your focus token currently is. So we can go back and build last turn super project, but we would first have to do a time travel action using our power plant to move our focus token backward. So that's another thing to be thinking about. I would love to get this one. So that would be 2 neutronium, 3 titanium, and a scientist. And this is a scientist paid as a cost. Remember, so this can't be a genius. And that scientist is permanently gone. Plus the square breakthrough that looks like it has a processor on it. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Alright, now we enter the paradox phase. So for each timeline tile, the player with the most warp tiles on that rolls for paradoxes. So we have... There's only 1 tile to be considered, and I have the most warp tiles on it, so... Oof, that's real bad luck. So the paradox die here has 1 face that is a 0, 4 faces that are a 1, and then 1 face that is a 2. It says right in the rules that it's a totally normal variant to just have each timeline tile give 1 paradox token to whoever has the most warp stuff on it. I'm not sure whether or not I like the unreliability here. Like, it certainly adds some... In general, I prefer when things behave predictably in games like this. But honestly, I don't know. Like, maybe... Yeah, I don't know. I'm very unsettled. I'm very unsettled on how I feel about it. We're going to be using the die for this game. And obviously, I got some bad luck there. If our paradoxometer fills up here, that is when we get an anomaly, and anomalies are real bad news. So, yeah, that's the whole paradox phase. Then, power up. Let's talk about powering up. So, we get 3 suits for free. That's no big deal. A thing I should note, I didn't talk about last turn because it wasn't really relevant, is that at the end of the power-up phase, for each of our bays that is empty, we receive 2 water. So, we're planning on starting the turn by taking an action that will cost us 5 water. That means we only have 4 water sitting around over here. I think what we're going to do is power you up at the cost of a cell, power you up at the cost of 3 water, and then leave the last bay open. So we end up at 7 water instead of at 3. Yeah. Wait, I'm at 6 right now. I can't count. So we end up at 8 water instead of at 3. I was looking at the numbers and being like, wait a minute, 2 plus 3 is not 4. Yeah, we're going to do it like this. So we will receive 2 water for leaving one of the bays open. And then the AI will, of course, power up all 6 of their infinite suits there. Their unstoppable, indefatigable suits. And then we enter the warp phase. So, in a real multiplayer game, people pick how many warp tiles they're sending out and which ones in secret, and then everybody shows them at the same time. In the solo game, you go in player order. So we do not yet know how many tiles it's going to put out. Since it's rolling the paradox die, it's likely that it will be 1. And obviously, if we put 2 tiles out, that's going to mean that we are the big loser here, and we will have to roll for paradoxes on this timeline tile next turn. And I can't really afford a lot more paradoxes. That's a big concern for me. That said, I think we are going to put up 1 token here. I think we're going to pull in our 6th suit this way. Yeah, so let's do that. We'll commit 1 token. And Chronobot rolls the die and also commits 1 token. This means we both roll the die for paradoxes, so that's not ideal, but it's better than just me rolling it. Alright, and that gives us our 6th suit. And then it is time for Phase 5, big Phase 5. So, I want very, very much to go get that neutronium, but we've put ourselves in a position where we kind of committed our first action already. Does the AI have the ability to mine? It does. It does. It does. Shit. Oh, wait, but sorry. I didn't move this token after it played the mine action. So no, right now it does not have the ability to mine. So we don't have to worry about it doing that with its first action. I gotta remember, like I said, this is the thing I'm sure I'm going to space on from time to time, and it's really important to represent that correctly. Alright, yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and commit the ready action. So it costs us 5 water, which I pay gladly. I arranged these in such a way that it's hard to select just 5 water. And then all of our workers move from tired zone. Oops, I did not do selection correctly there. Move from the tired zone to the ready zone, and morale increases. Hooray! Alright. The bot rolls the chrono die and comes up with a 6, so it's going to construct Super Project. Wait. Sorry, the iconography on this space... Yeah, this says, if rolled before the impact, gain victory point. If rolled after the impact, Super Project. So you get a whole victory point. Honestly, I'm a little nervous about how big that pile's going to get. Alright, I do think it's important that we go get the neutronium early. Let's just make sure we commit that. But the AI can't neutronium right now, right? Also, did I do the thing again? I did. Gotta remember to move that. Okay. So right now, the AI is set up to be able to perform its refresh action, do time travel, build a lab. No, wait, at the end of last turn, it tried to build a lab and failed. That token should have moved. So that's research. Or do this thing. So it's potentially only a single action off of being able to mine. So we are on the clock a little bit here. It could build life support, it could refresh, it could research, it could time travel, or it could gain water. Is there anything out here? We didn't really look at the buildings. Is there anything out here that I want desperately? A worker who remains ready gets you a uranium is not a great building. This building's definitely interesting, though. Administrator gets you 5 water. What is this one? Does that just remove a paradox token? Yep, return one paradox tile from your board to the supply. Honestly, that's not bad. Maybe we should build a lab. What does it cost to build? We're going to need uranium. We're going to need either uranium or gold plus neutronium in order to build. We should really just go to the mine. I'm just going to go to the mine. I think it's really important that this gets done. So we're going to place at the gold spot. It's like, do I think I'm more likely to build a factory than I am to build a lab? No, I think I'm likely to build the lab. So let's do the uranium space. We'll take the uranium associated with the space plus the neutronium, which is just bananas for us. I'm very happy about that. Alright, and then the bot. A 1. So it's going to time travel, and I'm going to move the token now so I don't forget. Alright, when the bot takes the time travel action. Each time time travel is rolled by the Chronobot, remove any one warp tile from the past timeline tile where it has the most. So that's here. This is the only past timeline tile. And then advance 1 step on its time travel track. This is true for the player as well. We also have a time travel points track. Just showing mastery of time travel is itself worth victory points. We will definitely be engaging in a little time travel this turn, because we're going to buy off this administrator, I think. But the fact that the bot did that means that when we go back and return our administrator, it's not going to get the bot on the hook for more paradoxes, which is a shame. Alright. And I already moved the token, because occasionally I can remember to do a thing. So what are we going to do now? We have 2 geniuses, 2 scientists, and an engineer. The administrator has to be in the ready state to be able to be sent back because he arrived in the ready state, remember. So we can't actually spend him for anything here. We could go do some more recruiting. That's a thing that's probably important. The time travel move is very non-contentious and does not need to be considered too strongly right now. We probably want to get a breakthrough at some point here. We want to make sure we have enough water. There's no way I get to this, right? I mean, we already have the titanium we would need as long as we build it with an engineer. So if we manage to get one more neutronium somehow, it would be reliant on us pulling the appropriate breakthrough. The resolution on these card scans is not amazing. So I guess that's a concern. Maybe for that reason, we should go to the breakthrough action right now. The AI can't recruit at the moment, so recruiting is safe, but it could break through. I'm going to do that. I'm going to commit to the breakthrough action. Let's send a scientist over to Breakthrough Town. And we're going to set this die to square, and then, fingers crossed. Yo! Alright. Well, I feel pretty okay about that. I think that's going to be extremely helpful. There's nothing else associated with that action. The AI takes a turn and rolls a 5. 5 is under here, so it builds a life support. That's unfortunate. Now I'm going to have to pay water for that. And it wants the one that is worth the most points. Honestly, that's a pretty good life support building. Worker who stays ready gives you water. That's solid. Okay, so now, in order to get the neutronium that we would need for this super project, which I do think is worth doing, we're going to need to take a nomad action. So I'm trying to place this out. We have a nomad action and a build action ahead of us. But we're going to need one more resource, one more cube of any kind to make this trade. I guess we could trade a power core, or we could use a genius to do this and make it like water becomes power core becomes neutronium. I suppose that's okay. I don't love it. What we could do is send another engineer to the mine and just grab more cubes. So let's see. Engineer to the mine, the build action, the trade action, and that leaves us with exactly 1 suit for recruiting. Which is not awful. The bot has the ability to do the recruit action now, so if we're planning on using a suit for recruiting, we should probably do that now. Oh, but it doesn't need to be a genius. But it shouldn't be an engineer. Our engineer's spoken for. It can't be a scientist, and it can't be an administrator, because our administrator's spoken for. Yeah, whatever, it's fine. It's fine for it to be a genius then, I guess. Let's do this, and let's grab... We're about to pay a scientist for a thing. Oh, we should probably grab the engineer, though, for the core, right? And then not trade the core, like still do the other stuff and get the cubes to trade for the neutronium, because I just want to have a power core. I think that makes sense. Alright, terrifying Chronobot, what do you got? You have a 4, which is do the refresh if you have enough water for it, and you certainly do. So 4, 5 water. Congratulations. So yeah, if supply/recruit is rolled, it does that unless it doesn't have enough water, in which case it recruits. That's why it's called supply/recruit. Makes sense to me. Okay, so now there's no danger of the build spaces filling up, right? Because there's effectively 3 build spaces left. Yeah, I'm not in a huge hurry here. So let's have an engineer go out to Resource Town. We can't remove enough titanium from the pool for it to matter. Like, the bot will be able to get titanium no matter what. So what we really must ask ourselves is what we want most. I'm going to take a titanium by playing on this space. And then, do we want a gold or a titanium? Because we're going to spend 2 of our titanium right now. I'm going to grab a gold. Okay. And the bot is going to roll a 6 and get 2 water. Pretty straightforward. So now we wanna do the trade. And I guess we do it with an engineer, because you two have to stay live. Yeah, it doesn't really matter how we do this, because we need somebody to make the trade, and then we need somebody to do the build. And I guess it would make the most sense for the engineer to be for the build. So we could treat you as an administrator here. We could, in fact, double trade if we wanted to. But I don't think we do want to. I think we want to go... Man, do we want to go gold uranium? For the... Yeah, I think we want to do this for the purple, because we're going to be left with just 1 cube, and it should probably be titanium. And then, like, we could trade our existing power core for 3 water, which I don't think we want to do. We could trade our existing 3 water for a power core, which I also don't... Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're just doing 1 trade. Okay, so then it is the bot's time. The bot is going to roll a 1. So this space is remove anomaly. Chronobot discards 2 water and 2 cubes of 1 resource in order to remove an anomaly. If it does not have a water, or if it does not have an anomaly, then it just does the I don't have an action, which is a point and 2 water. And this thing tracks back to here. Okay. And then we take our build action. Oh, shoot. Wait a minute. I screwed this up somewhere. Yeah, we're not going to have the ability to send our administrator back now. Because we're going to spend you, we're going to burn you to pay this cost. Hold on a second. Let me just look in the rules real quickly here. Paying costs. Do I have to pay a cost of a worker who's, like, available? When I burn a worker to do a thing. Because this is gonna matter a lot, right? Unfortunately, I don't exactly know where to look for this. Maybe in the construct a super project space? The worker can be paid from either the active or tired columns, but it does have to be paid from one of the columns. It can't be a guy who did a thing already. Yeah, so we actually don't have the ability to time travel this turn then. Okay, that's fine. It's not the end of the world. So yeah, you are going to play this space, which is going to cost us a water, and you are going to build Super Project. So, this Super Project builds at a cost of 2 neutronium, and 2 titanium, and a scientist who I assume is ground up and put in the foundation of the project, and also this specific breakthrough. If we had rolled a different thing, we would have just not built our super project. We would have taken a whole different path. Alright, and when you build a super project, it gets built into 2 of your building slots. You can see here the iconography sort of suggests this here. And it must be placed in the leftmost 2 slots you have available, with the ability to choose if 2 things are tied. So we have to build it here or here. I'm not sure which one of those 2 things. I guess maybe we can afford to have very little space for labs. The labs we have showing now are not bad, but I'm thinking, like, there are probably some, like, this is a great building. There are probably some real good factories available. I'm gonna fill up some lab space with it. We'll build the research center right there. And when we do that, we immediately get 2 research actions. So I think I'm gonna go, let's do a circle action. Hope to pull this thing, and if we don't get that, then I don't know exactly what we'll do with the second one. Is that my choice? Yep, the question mark icon stands for any... Boy, we've been very lucky on this. I cannot complain about these. So we have that available. That's not even that expensive, and it really cleans up our timeline. It is worth noting, though, that if you do this, you do not get to advance your time travel track, because this is for actually using your power plants. So we'd be sacrificing some opportunities to score here, but also we'd be foolish not to pursue it, I think, is where I'm going to land on that. So that's definitely interesting. And then we get to take another action, and we have no idea what we might want. I'm going to set it to square and roll, and maybe we'll get extremely lucky a 3rd time. No, okay, we get this guy again. Well, I certainly can't complain about that. Okay, so that was a very good super project. Also worth noting, just 8 points, 8 raw points on there. Okay, I do believe that that is the end of that action. So now it is the Chronobot's turn. Chronobot, what do you got? Chronobot's got action 6, where it gets a victory point. I will say, it's not been going to the board all that much, which is nice. And then... yeah, we moved that over already. So then it's me, and I have 1 administrator left, who may be pulling the water switch next turn. I guess we have 2 engineers who are going to come back in the ready state, so we're not quite as worker poor as it looks like. So could I have you do anything useful? We're out of bots, so really this is all you can do. We don't have the resources necessary to send anything back, so getting the time travel machine doesn't actually accomplish anything. Yeah, I guess you just wait. I pass, and that ends phase 5. Okay, yeah. So, clean up. First of all, I'm going to put you 2 back in the ready stack. Then you, and you, and you, and you all come home tired. Oh, and also you. I should probably not have put those guys down directly on that space. There we go. You also come out of there. Okay, and then we get these back, and we are not going to have quite as many suits next turn. Alright, and then, alright, we should get the AI's worker back. Single spent worker. And then during cleanup, check for impact, game end, etc. These are going to flush back out, as are all of these. Okay, and next round. The Archive of the Eras. Is that every time you move your time travel thing forward, gain a point, maybe? Every step on the time travel track is worth 1 more VP at the end of the game. Okay. That's a little weirdly worded, but you know. I don't think this is an official game component. I think this is a thing that the mod maker built. So, thank you, mod maker, if that turns out to be true. And then we gotta do this. Scientist and administrator and 2 geniuses. And one of these. Oh boy. Every time we don't get neutronium, it makes me a little nervous. Alright. Yeah, I think that's everything, right? Building stacks, right. So, what are these? That's just a ready action? Is that right? 408? Move all workers from the tired column to the active column, and if you do this with an administrator, he comes back ready? I mean, I guess there's a downside there in that you don't move your morale track up, but that seems bananas. This is gold into 6 water and the worker stays ready. Just gain 2 titanium and the worker stays ready. And a very simple go backwards 2 points time travel thing. Okay, interesting stuff. And then we enter the paradox phase, or at least we will enter the paradox phase in just a moment here. I am realizing that I foolishly forgot to refill my glass of water before I started this. So I'm going to just insert a little cut here. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. So while I was sitting back down here and getting ready, I realized something. I have been forgetting to acknowledge my faction leader's power here. What Matriarch Zaida brings to the table is, during Phase 6, during cleanup, you can pay 2 water to claim a worker off of one of the recruit spaces. You don't get the recruitment bonus, so if you take a scientist, you don't get 2 water back. But that is a thing we could have been doing, and had we done it on the first turn, we would have had a worker available to send our administrator back last turn. So it's a thing we definitely would only have done once so far if I had remembered that it was possible, but it might have mattered. It might have been significant. I don't know. I guess we can try to suss out at the end of the game how many points I lost by forgetting about that, but that's definitely an error that I will be looking to not make in the future here. Alright, so next, Paradox. For each past timeline tile, the player who has the most garbage on it rolls. This is likely to cause problems for us. Alright, so our Paradox meter fills up. When our Paradox meter fills up, a couple of things happen. First of all, as you note here, the Paradox is immediately clear. A player receiving a third Paradox token is immediately affected by an anomaly. When this happens, he stops rolling for Paradoxes, if he had any remaining rolls, returns all his Paradox tokens to the supply, and then he may choose to retrieve one of his warp tiles from any timeline tile back to his personal supply. I think that we're going to pull one of these two, because I don't think it should be a big problem for us to resolve this one this turn. So my current plan is we'll put up 2 warp tiles this turn. One of these is going to get lost now. We'll use the Continuum Stabilizer to pull both of those, plus whichever one of these we don't pull now, and then we do an actual time travel action to fix this one, so that we're still getting time travel points. The Continuum Stabilizer can it do that? Does it work like that? Yep, from up to 3 timeline tiles. It does not say they have to be past. It can be the current one. So I don't know that it matters particularly which one. I guess, sorry, let's clean up this one, because this means we wouldn't have to roll again on this tile. It's not going to matter, because we're going to, if we execute our plan correctly, we're going to clean everything up anyway. Okay, so that's good. And then on this tile, the AI has to roll. Oh, sorry. And then I actually get the anomaly. That's a problem. Now, it's worth noting that this faction has a special power here. I can, instead of taking the anomaly, sacrifice any one of my buildings. I'm going to choose not to do that. I think it's important that we keep the buildings we have here. So we're going to get an anomaly. This thing is a nightmare. It goes in your leftmost available building slot, and it just has -3 points on it. It also has an action space on it that lets you pay 2 basic resources or 1 neutronium, plus 2 water, to remove the anomaly, remove the negative 3 points, but it takes the worker with it. The worker is consumed into the time stream. So, you know, not like 100% ideal. It's not where we want to be. But we're going to figure it out. We're going to deal with it. Man, would it be worth just like losing one of our buildings? We definitely want to use this building this turn, but I suppose I could sacrifice this instead and then just only put up one warp tile this turn and have the continuum stabilizer clear us up. Maybe. No, because, like, we're going to lose a worker to this, right? It's basically, the thing we were going to do was gain a worker, probably. Although, now that we've taken this thing back off the timeline, we could put forth, like, suit plus gold? Well, it's going to cost us 2 gold anyway. So we have to take a mine action no matter what to get gold, so I guess it doesn't really help us to get gold. We could put up suit plus worker. But if we get rid of our power plant, we really only want to put up one thing, because then we no longer have the ability to remove the extra tile. And if we do it that way, then we're preventing ourselves from having to spend a worker in the future. Yeah, actually, I think that makes more sense. Let's go ahead and use our power here. Instead of taking the anomaly, we will just burn our existing power plant. So this goes to the bottom of the deck that it comes from. Gosh, I hope that turns out not to be a silly decision. Okay, and then you... Did I roll for you? You're supposed to roll on this tile. You rolled a 1. Congratulations. Get a single paradox. Okay, and then we are moving on to power-up phase. So I'm going to power up 1, 2, 3 mechs. I think we'll put a 4th mech up from this power core, and then we will not fill either of those 2 spaces. So we will receive 4 water at this time. Which is good, because we're in a position where we need water. And then the AI, of course, preps all 6 of its suits, and then we go to warp time. I'm going to warp in a 5th mech. And you're going to... Okay, roll the die very strangely, but warp in a thing as well. Listen, when you press R, it assigns an arbitrary amount of spin, a randomized amount of spin on the axes. That result was as random as every other. Okay, so then we have warped, and we get action time. So we definitely need to make sure that we build that super project. It would be very silly not to build that super project. We need... Honestly, as long as we use an engineer to take the build action to get the 1 point discount, all we need is to take a single mining action to make sure we get it. And it's... Yeah, the AI still can't take a mining action on to surprise us. It still needs to actually get a... Still needs to actually get a roll first, so we don't have to do that immediately. So do we want to... Yeah, I think we're going to recruit first. I think that's high value. Let's send an administrator over to Recruiting Town and get ourselves a ready genius. Alright, what do you got? Oh, sorry, I got to take a reward here. I am thinking I'll just grab a power core. So far, we've been doing a really good job of needing exactly 1 power core per turn. Okay, you rolled a 6, so you get 2 water. Congratulations on all your water. And I did move it, okay. So, we know that we are going to need These two engineers are probably mine plus build. And then our genius is for just hitting refresh, I guess? We could have this genius go to recruit another genius. It only takes 5 water to do our refresh, so... honestly, I don't hate that. It does put us in an awkward position, though, if the AI takes a build action before we take our build action. So maybe I want to do the mining action now. We have to take gold. Because the build action's cost is semi-contentious. Alright, what do you got? Do not roll a 3 or a 4, please. Or a 1, actually. Okay, that's a 4. So you attempt to build a lab. You prefer this one. Okay, so that does mean that we have to pay a water to build, so I guess it's a good thing that I didn't do that other thing that costs a water. And the 4 moves over to here. Okay. And I believe it's not a... I believe they can stack on top of each other. There's a limit to the number of tokens that can be on an action. I'm trying to find where it says that in the rules here. There's definitely a limit. I think it's 3. If there are 3 tokens on the same position, then advance the highest numbered one to the next position. Okay, yeah. So it's not a big deal for them to stack up, as long as they don't stack too high. Alright, so for our action, I think we now are strongly incentivized to get this build done before it becomes any more of a problem. Yeah, because they still have a build action available. Although I guess the only thing that could actually happen is we'd get pressed to the World Council. So maybe this is no longer critical. Maybe now it is okay to go get that recruit. Now that it is clear to us that we can't. But I don't really want to spend water, do I? Okay, what else would I do? I could, of course, just assign somebody to go get water. We don't have an action that gets us minerals. Yeah, it kind of doesn't matter what order we do these things in anymore, I guess. I'm just going to go ahead and... Here's a consideration. If we take this space, the AI will build in the take first player space, so I don't want to empower it to do that. If the AI builds here, it doesn't increase our water cost, because I'll just play there. But if we build here, it does make this a danger. So we're going to do something else, and I'm pretty sure that something else is play the refresh action. So that's going to cost us 5 water and get our many dudes re-prepped over here. Yeah. And also, morale increases. So if you take the increase morale action while your morale is all the way at the side, you get the number, you just get victory point chips, as pictured here. It would not be a bad idea for us to get to that space, if we could. That seems okay. Alright, so we did our refresh. What do you got? You have a 2. 2 is this one? Yep. So, that. You are going to take a breakthrough action. How do you do that? What do you break through? Roll the shape die and take any breakthrough of the rolled shape. What is that? Take any breakthrough seems... I need instructions. Okay, so you're going to take a square. I guess it would aim to take ones that would be bad for us to have, so it will try to take this square. Right? I think that makes sense as a way of picking. Just deny the player. Because it doesn't use the breakthroughs, right? It's not going to actually, spend them. Okay, and I did move the thing. Alright, so you can now mine. If I were to go to the mine, I could remove all of the titanium. I could prevent the AI from getting access to titanium. Is that a sensible thing to do? I need to build at some point. And then we do that. And then I guess the... What is our other suit going to be used for is the question. We could use the other suit to get... to trade. Right, I could go... Engineer to here. Pull this titanium plus that titanium. And then we could trade the 2 titanium for a neutronium here, and then we could fire the recycler, right? That might be a good idea. Okay, yeah, there's a thing to consider. Alright, your turn. You have rolled a 2, which is the mining action. So you will take the mining space that is available. Oh, I didn't, Wait, what did you just do? You did research before that, so this should be filled. Alright, you take the remaining mining action. You don't get a uranium. Actually, maybe you don't take the remaining mining action? Hold on. So it's not 100% clear. Oh, no, it's still... Okay, it still accumulates. It doesn't just hold 1 cube at a time. So it will take... It will take a uranium and a gold and just have multiples. I was going to say, if it's not actually going to get anything of value, does it just do the victory point plus water thing? But no, it will hold multiples. Okay. And did I move the token? I moved the token. Hooray! So now... I guess I just go do the resource trade? And it doesn't really matter who does it, I'll have it be you. Right, because again, I would prefer that the AI build first. We will build if I don't have a choice. And so I commit these 2 for one of those. I mean, we've created a pretty expensive water loop here, but I think it's still worth it. Water's so valuable. Alright, the AI will take action 2 again, which this time is build a life support building. It'll do this thing, which is pretty good. And now that it has 3 life support buildings, it will no longer take that action. Is that right? Because this says 0 to 3. If it already has 3 buildings of the rolled type, it takes nothing, but still places an exosuit to block the points, or to block the space, and takes the water and victory points anyway. Okay. That's weird. It's weird that this is written the way it is, right? Because, like, you either have to read this as, go ahead and do this action if there are 0 to 3 buildings, which is wrong. It's do the action if there are 0 to 2 buildings. You don't do it when there are 3. Or I guess it's like there can be 0 to 3 objects in this slot, but that's strange notation. That's counterintuitive to me. Okay, so it did that. Alright, and then now I do have to take the build action, right? Because at this point, the cost could get higher. So I pay my 1 water to go ahead and construct this thing at the cost of a titanium and 2 gold and the perfect breakthrough. We invented circular clocks. Up until now, they'd all been the grandfather stand-up kind. Can't stabilize a continuum with those, obviously. So, do we want to cover up 2 power plant slots or 2 factory slots? How much time travel do we think we're going to do from this point, I guess is the question. There's points for it. Factories seem good, but I have no idea what factories I might build. I'm gonna do it here. I don't know if that's the right thing to do or not. Okay, and we get to immediately pull 3 of our tiles from the timeline. Hooray! We cleaned up the timeline. This is not how these should go. Okay. I do feel pretty solid about that. But what do you got? You got a 4, which is breakthroughs again. So roll the shape die. It gets a circle, and you don't really care what circle you take, I don't think. What did you get over here? Clock? Sure, circle clocks. Because there are no circular blocking plays, right? Both of the breakthroughs here are showing any circle. Alright, my remaining breakthrough is of low value. Did I move you? I did move you. Alright, so we are out of workers, or we're out of exosuits. We're definitely going to do this thing, though. So fire that cube to get back 8 water. Oh, I gotta remember to place the AI's suits. And then you rolled a 6, which is get 1 point. But the impact's coming, don't worry. Alright, and then I got 2 geniuses left and nothing to do with them, so I'm good. I pass the turns over. Yep, retrieve workers, prepare for other stuff. So both of these guys go back to the ready line. And if you're thinking, hey, that seems real powerful, you're right, it does. It seems very good. You are tired, but you're no longer getting reabsorbed into the timeline, so congratulations on that. I don't have any idea how that works. I mean, if you really think about what that represents, it's kind of wild. Alright, geniuses into the tired pool. Is that all of our... Yes, that is all of our guys. So this is definitely a situation where if I had an extra suit, if we had powered that last suit, I certainly would have used it. So we did just sort of lose an action by not being able to do that. And then you get your stuff back. You almost actually ran out all your suits that turn too. This stuff goes back in the pool. I didn't go get that other genius, which is a thing that I would very much have liked to do. But I think cleaning up the timeline was, like, pretty critical there. I think we made the right call on that. And then, yeah, it's not quite impact time yet. That's next turn, so we move on to the next era. Let's reveal this. The Tectonic Drill. 3 titanium, 1 gold, an engineer, and the Circle Bullseye breakthrough. Gets you, I think that's whenever you do the mine action, you get to take one extra, yeah, you get to take an additional basic resource from the supply, not from the limited resource line. That seems pretty good, honestly. Especially, like, we're doing a lot of going to the mine, so this might be worth building if we can get... I guess at this point, if we were going breakthrough, we would just take any triangle, be able to pay the cost that way. So that's a thing to maybe think about. Then oh yes, recruit pools and resource pools. So it's a scientist and 2 engineers and a genius. I do love recruiting geniuses, as you've probably noticed. 2 gold and 2 titanium, or sorry, 2 uranium and 1 titanium. We may still be able to deny the AI if we're clever. And the building stacks. Oh, interesting. So first of all, turn a titanium into a power core seems very powerful. Bad time travel, but the building's worth 4 points also seems fairly powerful. This is immediately get 8 water, which I'm into. And this is an administrator and 2 water. Just gets you... Do they come in ready? Yep, receive an active scientist or engineer. Interesting. Well, that's worth considering. Okay, let us proceed to the paradox phase. The paradox phase is a beautiful thing for me. So, nobody has to roll for this tile. For this tile, the AI rolls, and it receives 1, the standard 1. And then for this tile, the AI rolls. And it receives 1, so anomaly for you. Are there special rules for when the AI receives an anomaly? Nope, okay. So it just gets an anomaly in the normal way. The anomaly goes into the spot. It gets to remove a warp tile from a thing. Okay. So the timeline's looking pretty clear right now. There's very little unresolved garbage in the timeline, thanks to this thing showing up, because otherwise we would have been in a real rough state. Then it is power-up time. So, I mean, obviously we're going to take our 3 free suits. We're going to take our power cell suit. And then I'm definitely doing another one. And the question is, do we do the 6th? If we do the 6th, we'll be at 2 water. I think if we want a 6th suit, we should do it via warp tile. And I'm not sure whether or not it's even right to do that, but I think we will not power up a 6th suit. We will take the 2 water. And then we will move to the warp phase. So I've managed to maintain first player here. This is a place where I think that's kind of a detriment. I would like for the AI to show me its warp tiles first, because I would have no problem putting up that suit if the AI rolled 2 on the paradox die. What are we likely to need this turn? I think this is probably off the table. It's just too expensive. So I'm not really thinking about Super Project. More sources of water would be a good idea. It's not always a good idea to spend neutronium. Also, I kind of love this. I think we're in a building kind of headspace here. So let's see. We need gold, we need titanium. If we ever want to build another power plant, we could use some neutronium. And we should definitely have a power plant, right? So maybe what we do is just put up neutronium. Or maybe we go neutronium suit. That's a thing we can clean up later. And we can try to build. But you know what? I'm not building a power plant this turn. That's not going to happen. If we're going to build, we have other stuff that we're focused on. So let's not put that cube up. But maybe we do the suit. I'm going to do the suit. So we're talking about a cost of titanium, uranium, water, and a cost of titanium, gold, water. Those are the things we're seriously thinking about. If we were to take uranium from here, if we took uranium from the warp, we could, with a single mine action, play the titanium space and remove the other titanium. And then that ensures we have what we need to build, and also that the AI is not working toward completing its sets. Maybe that's greedy, but I kind of like it. Okay, so that's what I'm putting up. I am maybe too aggressive with the timeline. Let's get you, and also you. And then the AI, show me 2. Aha! The AI also puts up 2 tokens. Okay, we can work with this. This is fixable. So then we enter the action rounds phase, and I think the AI does have the ability to mine, so I think it's really important that we take this mine action right now. Let's grab titanium out of the pool. Okay. The AI rolls a 3, which is build this thing, which it does not do, but it still covers up the building space, which is an annoying thing for it to have done. And it gets the victory point and the 2 water. We probably could change some of these victory points out. we have 5s, right? Yeah, let's do that. Just for ease of readability here. Alright, so then it's my turn, and again, I'm not feeling like we need to push for that as much as I want this water building, I think. I don't think we need to grab it right this second, because we know the AI can't take it, and we don't want to necessarily fill that slot up. So, if we're thinking about a tectonic drill, we should probably go get that. Although, actually, you know what we should do? We should genius recruit. And I'll take a power core. I keep making this play, and it keeps feeling right. You do action 1, which is build power plant, which you certainly can do. The higher scoring, yeah, that's a pretty good one. The AI is going to have a lot of points worth of buildings here. Alright, and then we can now just go ahead and take our build. I don't know if it makes sense to wait. The question is, do we play this building space? We have enough water right now that we could afford to prevent the AI from taking first player from us. Oh, no we don't. Never mind. It now costs us 6 water to do a refresh. Oh, but when we do the build, we're gonna get 8 water from just putting it down. So actually, it's not an emergency. I guess we could go back to the mine. Right? Grab gold, and then potentially be able to get this build done as well. Because I do love this. I think that's what we're doing. Let's go to the mine and make sure we get the resources we're looking for here. Okay, so that's done. You get to roll, and you are... Yep, 5 is over here. Okay. You are taking a recruit action. So you would like to get a genius, then an administrator, then an engineer. Working slowly, ever so slowly on that set. So now we build... Let's see, we have 2 of these guys left. Let's take the build action that gets us the life support building. So I am going to take this space. I'm a little concerned that we're gonna lose that. But I want to get this done first. So we'll go ahead and pay 2 water. And then 1 water plus 1 titanium plus 1 of these to grab this thing and gain 8 water. These 5 water plus 3 more. Gosh, I love having water. This turn, we may actually use the thing there. Maybe I should have used it last turn. I don't know. I was just thinking about the fact that we had a refresh coming up, and I was nervous. All right, your turn. You also would like to get 2 water. The Chronobot saw me doing that, and it got insecure. It's like, wait a minute, do we need water? Do we need more water always? Because look, the human's getting more water always. Look at that supply. Okay, so now we're in kind of an interesting position, I think. Because if we take a refresh now, we could potentially lose out on that building space. If the AI rolls a 2 or a 3 or a 5, we lose our build for the turn. And if we don't get the build, it's not the end of the world. This thing will just slide over onto the other track. It'll be fine. It'll still be there. But we just won't get it this turn. So I think for that reason, I am not willing to push for it right now. We have 2 suits left, and I think we're going to refresh and then figure things out afterward. So 6 water goes into the refresh. And that moves us up here. We're doing really well on morale. Alright, come on. Nothing. Come on, do a 6. Show me a 6. Nope. Okay. So 5 builds a factory. So the AI plays here. Builds this. Oh, that's actually like a super shame. That was actually the really, really bad version of that. Because now we don't have a source of power cores. Never mind. We have a different thing that functions similarly. Okay, we'll build that next turn. That's okay. I don't feel too bad about that. But that was really lucky for us. So now, what are we doing with our 2 suits? We can't recruit or build. We could mine, and we can do research, and I guess we could gather a hell of a lot of water. We should probably do some research. We do need a breakthrough. So, just any triangle, right? Yeah, I think pulling triangle is better than trying to get this thing and then missing. So we'll set this to, there we go, a triangle face, and we'll just roll you. It's the triangle that has the double helix on it. Alright. Boy, that piece is real unevenly shaped. Okay, so that's my whole turn. What do you got? You have get a victory point. Hey, it would have been real cool if you had done that last turn. So let me, just to make sure, this space is just get a victory point when it doesn't fire, right? If rolled before the impact, it receives 1 victory point and places no exosuit. Okay. Got 2 exosuits left. So, now what do? We have a lot of water left, which is good. We can put up suits with that water. I guess a thing we could do is we could send a genius out in the last exosuit to gather 4 water. And that would mean we could use our get a person ability here and pay full out on suits and still have water left over to do stuff with. I actually think I like that. The other option is mine, probably. Like, it doesn't make any sense to go breakthrough, I don't think. So if we send that genius to mine, we get uranium plus... There's no titanium in the thing. We certainly need titanium. Yeah, it's a shame there's not a single titanium available in the mine. Yeah, so we would get uranium. We need resources for this too still. So I guess we do need gold. Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to do that. I'm going to throw a genius in here to act as an engineer. We're going to pull uranium plus gold, because we will need a 3rd point of gold. 2 for the lab, plus 1 for the super project. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So that's my turn. Then you have a 3, which is a recruit action that you cannot take. So, points and water for you. Man, the AI is going to end up with an awful lot of water. Fortunately, water does not convert into victory points, I think. What is this? Oh, when you can't do an action. Yeah, that's the notation for the can't do an action thing. Alright, and then I think I pass, right? I don't have any actions over here that I actually want to take and also have the ability to take, so we're good. So, you 3 go back into the ready piles. We're really not in a place where we have to be too worried about a refresh just yet. I think we're doing quite well on that. And then you three go to Tired Town. Listen, there's nothing wrong. Our society puts no shame on someone for being a sleepyhead. Alright, so get all of our suits back. Get the AI's suits back. There we go. And then we check for impact. And this time, yes, this time impact. So, let's talk about what happens when the impact occurs, because it's pretty significant. It's a pretty major deal. At the end of the 4th era, an asteroid impact hits a desolate part of Earth. And by a desolate part of Earth, we mean that part of Earth right there. Now, this, I mean, obviously, if the impact had happened right there, we would all have been obliterated. But the damage is considerable. So, this has added a new action space to the game. This is a hex pool space, so a non-exclusive space, where we can take the evacuate action. Each player can only evacuate one time, but you just get all of your people out of the burning, destroyed capital. So let's talk about the rules for that. You can see down here the rules for our evacuate space. In order to be able to evacuate, we must have built 3 life support buildings. So there are 4 different factions, and each faction has 2 different setups for this thing. In fact, I think, yeah, here we go. We have a view of what both of ours are. So again, there's a lot of setup variance. As our thing goes, we must have 3 life support buildings in order to evacuate. That makes the evacuate space worth 2 victory points. When we evacuate, we also get 3 additional VPs for each genius and gold pair that we have when we pull it off. So, we've been doing a good job aggressively recruiting geniuses. We just gotta make sure we have a lot of gold on hand when we eventually do the thing. In addition to that, the evacuation collapses a significant portion of the capital. So these have already been randomized. What happens here is these tiles get placed. A lot of damage has been done to the capital. So each one of these has a one-time bonus on it. The way it works is, when you play one of these spaces, you get the bonus in addition to the space functioning the way it normally does, including you having to pay the costs underneath it. And then when you retrieve a worker from a space that has one of these tiles on it, you flip it over, and that space is blocked for the rest of the game. Also, our home areas have received some damage. You can see 2 of the bays in our mech bay have this symbol on them. So our mech bays have taken some damage, and 2 of our free mech bays have become unserviceable. Of course, it had to be 2 of the free ones. Sorry, for this guy, this is a thing that's different than the other factions. We actually lose 3 mech bays. As you can see over here on this other factions board, most of the factions just lose the top left and the top right. And everybody has different charging rules for their mechs. Okay, so that sucks a lot, actually. I had not been thinking about that. Well, it's a good thing we have resources on hand. Okay, so now we have to be concerned about the end of the game. The way the game ends is if you get to the end of Era 7, game end happens automatically. But at the end of any turn during the cleanup step, if all 6 of the collapsing capital tiles have been flipped over, that also triggers game end. So it could happen very quickly, depending on how the AI chooses to play. We're going to have to be super careful about this. Yeah, so that's the check for impact step, then check for game end, then, yep, set up the next era. So we move over here, and then we're in phase 1, the dark matter converter. Burn a worker. Sorry, this is a round space, so it's a free action to burn a worker to get a genius or a neutronium or a... That's a weird... Yep, free action, lose 1 worker and receive a genius worker / neutronium / energy core from the supply. That's, the slash is always or, not and. So, Dark matter allows you to convert anyone to a genius. Weird. And it does actually, it uses the double helix square breakthrough. Oh no, we had the triangle one. I was gonna say, we could maybe pick that up, but I don't know. I don't know if I think the game's gonna... I don't know how many turns we're actually gonna have here. So, then building stacks. This is the double time travel power plant. We didn't really talk about this, but it does allow you to remove two warp tiles and also up your time travel track twice, I believe. So that's powerful, not super relevant for us. Oh, this is your refresh action, costs half as much water rounded up. That seems pretty good. This is each one of your anomalies is worth an extra 2 points, which means it takes them from -3 to only -1, which is pretty okay if you're in that strategy. If you didn't get a continuum stabilizer, I mean, I think our eyes are still on this, but obviously we do need to build one of these before we can escape, so a thing to think about. Oh, I forgot also, during Phase 6, we are absolutely actually doing the thing this time. We're going to spend 2 water to recruit an extra engineer. Can never have too many engineers. Right, is that a sensible thing to do? It feels like staving off... Yeah, staving off the refresh is a smart idea. I think that's right. I think we're going to do that. Okay, we used that ability once during the game. So new workers is a scientist. It's nice and evenly distributed here. And new cubes. That's the wrong... Damn it. There we go. Okay, this one has a neutronium on the top. It's worth noting that after the impact, the top cube on the card always gets replaced by a neutronium, so this would have been neutronium either way. Alright, I'm happy to be in first place here. This is a good time to be the first player. Okay, so we did all that stuff. Now it's paradox time. So nobody rolls for these. The AI rolls for that one and pulls a paradox token. And then the AI rolls for that, and we're going to do our roll first. Alright, and then the AI also rolls for this one. Nothing. Okay. So we've had slightly worse than average luck, the AI has had slightly better, and it has not, in fact, changed the number of expected paradoxes at all. So, no big deal. And then... Power-up. So our power-up phase is a little ugly. I mean, we sorta have to, right? I think we need to fill up that other bay. I do not love it. Yeah, only having 3 mechs sucks. That hurts. There are some buildings that will let you power up a mech during the building, or during actual actions, I believe. There is certainly, at the very least, a super project that lets you do it. Yeah, the uranium cores, just once per round, receive a free exosuit. Maybe that's the only thing that does it, though? Yeah, that must... Oh, no, here's one. Okay. Spend an energy core and receive 1 powered-up exosuit. So I was kind of hoping we'd see some of that, but it's actually quite rare. We're just in a real rough spot as far as mechs go. Well, that also, it's worth noting, after the impact, the AI only gets 4 as well. It did lose 2 of its bays. And I guess we're into warp. So, where are we at as far as warping stuff in goes? Now, here's an important thing to note. When the end of the game happens, you have to pay off as many of your warp tiles as you can, and any warp tile that is left on the timeline is -2 points. So, it would be really nice if we could get rid of these, and I hate to say it, but that worker, or that suit, is going to be real tough to... Because we have to pay off a powered-up suit, right? Because it came back powered up. So that's... I'm worried. I'm worried about that one. That seems ugly. Alright, we're thinking we need to build this, right? Right now, we can totally afford this. It costs these resources. And also 2 water, but we can get water. If we want to also build this thing, which I'm pretty sure I do, that's going to cost us another gold, which we do have on hand, and 2 titanium, plus a live engineer, plus the breakthroughs. So we need to go to the mine anyway to pull titanium. So it doesn't help us to warp 1 cube of it. The only thing we might want to bring back is water, I guess. And honestly, I think I'm not going to. You know what? When we go to the thing, we're gonna play the titanium space, we're gonna grab the neutronium. We're gonna build this first, and then we'll use this to secure an extra cube of titanium to build this. That's definitely got to be the way that goes. I think I'm not going to warp anything this turn. I think I'm going to try to avoid damaging the timeline any further, especially since we don't have a time machine. So the AI plays its warp phase. It puts out 1 thing. And then we're in worker turns. So I think it is of critical importance that we do this. Alright, then the AI takes its turn, and it rolls a 1, which is a time travel action. So it prefers to remove warp tiles from the timeline tile where it has the most of them, I believe. Yes, the path timeline tile where the Chronobot has the most warp tiles. So it pulls from here, seems like a pretty smart move to me, and it moves its scorer up. Alright, now we must build. It's like critically important that we build here. And this is, this actually lowers the cost by even 1 more. I don't think that changes anything about our play. So we get to pay 1 less cube of any kind. Sorry, any basic kind. So we're going to take this thing at a cost of 1 titanium, right? We take the normal engineer discount plus the space discount as titanium. So yeah, we do that. We have to kill an active engineer. I mean, we could kill a tired engineer, but my point is we can't kill one that's on a job. And then we also must pay both of our breakthroughs. And there's only 1 legal build space for this. So now every time we mine, we get an extra cube. Okay. We've done very well on points from those at the very least. Okay, so you take the get rid of your anomaly action. So no exosuit is placed. And the Chronobot discards 2 water and 2 cubes of the 1 resource it has most of. If tied, the order of priority is titanium, gold, uranium, neutronium. So backwards. But it's important to note that it discards 2 cubes of the same resource if it can. Yep, okay. So it spends also 2 water, and then it gets to burn its anomaly. So a 3-point play for the AI, not too bad. Alright, now it's my turn. And I think I want to take a build action, right? Ooh, no, I can't take a build action right now. I don't have the water necessary to support that. What I have to do is play this. I should lock these once they're in place. Okay. Yeah, so this is a thing I can do with my administrator, right? I mean, we could send him out here, I suppose. So this is just get a live suit. Hold on, there's a legend for these. Yet receive a powered-up exosuit. This is after recruiting the worker, wake up all of your guys. That's also pretty hot. What's the other construct thing? It's that one. If you construct a building with this action on the first, second, / third building column, receive... Okay, it's just a little extra VP. I mean, it's not bad. And then, what are the research bonuses? Return 2 paradox tiles, or after taking this research action, you may take an additional construct action to build a super project. Maybe I should have done that instead of this. But you know what? I needed the the discount. I'm not actually clear, like, the way this is worded. No, it's got to function like our super project did, right? And our super project didn't have us actually committing exosuits. So this, I assume this also wouldn't have let me play an extra worker. It would have just been as though I were building it off the scientist. Yeah. Okay, so these are fine. They're interesting, for sure. So I guess, really, there's no sense in me not committing the administrator to this space. Right? Take the administrator, go to here. Take the genius, get an extra exosuit, and then take 2 water as my bonus? No, take power core as bonus. Because we're already going to get water. This is why we got the neutronium, so that we could get water. Yeah, that makes sense. Alright, your turn. You rolled... Oh, sorry, the 1 should have moved over here. And then you rolled 1 again, so you get to... take the build space, and you build this thing here. How does the... I don't know how this space interacts with the Chronobot. I guess the Chronobot doesn't have... Oh, you know what? It has an explicit rule here. It ignores everything printed on collapsing capital tiles, so it gets no benefit from that. It just made it so that I don't get it either. Okay, fair enough. So now, another reset would be worth 2 points. I'm thinking about playing this space. That's interesting. I don't think we want to do it right now, though. I think we want to commit engineer here to make 8 water. Because there's no sense in committing a genius if we don't have to, right? And we're definitely going to need that 8 water. So now we have the ability to take the build action that gets us this, so that we have our building prerequisite to evacuate next turn. So next turn is like, get a ton of gold, evacuate, and then try to end the game immediately afterward. Because I'm going to be taking pretty limited actions with my maximum of 3 mechs. So, yeah, we do want the game to run out, I think. Oh, also, I forgot to move your thing. Alright, AI, what do you got? You got a 5. Your 5 is do the refresh, which you absolutely can afford. So 6 water out. How did I manage to not select this? There we go. And then move. Okay, and then we have 1 mech suit and 3 geniuses. So, this mech suit definitely should be a build. It's this build? You have build up, right? Yeah, you have a couple of numbers that are build. So I do think I want to go ahead and spend the extra 1 water to safeguard first player, especially given the number of spaces that are going to have collapsed next turn. Alright, so we take the build action. We build here at a cost of 2 water plus 1 titanium plus 1 gold plus 1 uranium. Let's make a power plant. And I think it's... We're probably going to do exactly 1 more refresh. So that's going to save us 3 water. So the cost will go from 7 to 4. It's not awesome. But And there's a free reset up there, so we don't even necessarily have to do that. I mean, obviously getting 2 points is nice. But maybe we rely on getting the free reset, and so we just take the other water building. They're both only 1 point. And we could potentially use this. I'm gonna take this. Alright. So that's that. You have a 6. Get 2 water. And now, at this point, if the AI rolls a 6 again, it actually will construct a super project. So let's see, it's at 2132. It has a lot of points of buildings, actually. And we have a lot of points of building slots, at least. Alright, so we got 2 geniuses left. We are totally out of suits. So the only action we have left is this. And there's already, we refreshed earlier this turn. Wait, did we? I might have forgotten to remove, this person might be supposed to be in the tired space, but I don't remember. Here's a question. Would I don't have the water to do it right now anyway, so I wouldn't. It doesn't matter, I wouldn't play this space anyway. So I think I pass. I think I just pass and call an end to the turn. Okay. Yeah, so let's retrieve. You're the only worker who comes back to the awake pile today. You guys all go tired. And we are definitely going to have to play that refresh pretty early. And I don't think that I am going to use my passive ability. I don't think we're going to pull another worker here. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Okay, so retrieve all the workers, check for game end. Not quite. Oh, I should probably actually flip these over, though. So there are no real construction spaces left. That means that the world spaces are immediately usable for these. And if these things flip next turn might be the last. The game could end an era early here. Alright, this happens. We reveal the final super project, the Particle Collider. Ooh, as a free action. That seems very powerful. These things slide over. What does this lab say? The range of all your power plants is increased by 2. That's not bad. This is a free action to take 2 water. Honestly, I wish that had been available last turn. I would have taken it. Just get a gold. A 4-point power plant that requires a scientist to operate. That's fine. Those are all fine. Let's see. These basically just flush out. The AI has not done a good job of collecting any sets. Let's see. One of these guys is left. You are not here, but there is a genius up. And then for the minerals, top tile is always replaced by neutronium, and look at all of that titanium. Alright, we enter Era 6. And somehow I have managed to hold on to first player. So now it's paradox time. 1 roll for the AI. Oh, bad luck AI. It gets a paradox. That evens out its luck from earlier, right? Because it rolled blank once. And then here I roll once. And I also even out my luck. And then the AI would roll here, but if I'm reading the anomaly rules correctly, after you take an anomaly, you don't roll anymore for that turn. Oh, also, once it takes this, it loses a warp tile from somewhere, so... It doesn't actually... Oldest if tied. Okay, oldest if tied. Alright, so that's a warp phase. And now we power up. Well, obviously we do this, and then I think we have to do this. I think this is necessary. I should probably also move people on my player board to the tired places. So, we're in kind of an awkward spot water-wise, but obviously we can resolve that by going mining, which we will absolutely for sure do. Okay, so, warp time. If we wanted to build this super project... Oh, actually, never mind. I can't build super projects anymore. I don't have space. So we're not interested in building that super project. I guess the question basically is like, do I take 2 water in the warp phase? And I think the answer is I don't want to put any more garbage in my timeline. But I'm uncertain. So none of these labs are like critical to us. It wouldn't be terrible to build a power plant, but doing so would require 2 neutronium, so that's kind of off the table a little bit. The ability to just get gold is sort of irrelevant to us at this point, I think. Yeah, I think so. So, if we're trying to end the game this turn, obviously we want to make sure that we have a uranium and a powered-up mech suit to pay these off, because each one of these is worth -2 points. If we don't do that... Right now we're sitting on a gold, but I don't really want to go get a gold. Yeah, okay. Alright, well, let's not warp anything. I think we don't warp anything. The AI does inscrutable time travel magic and ends up causing 1 paradox. Or sorry, ends up causing 1 warp. Whatever that means. And then it's phase 5. Then it's phase do stuff. So we have to go mining. Right? Like, critically important. We go gold and water. And probably we take gold off of our tectonic drill, right? For the purpose of scoring this. And then we can use a mech suit plus a genius to go here. Trade. After we do our escape, we can trade gold to water to uranium, and then potentially do this action to make sure that we have as much water as we need. Or sorry, no, we hold the uranium because we're trying to end the game. I mean, I'm not actually able to end the game, though, am I? It's not... Yeah, I can't place enough bodies. So we're going to be reliant on the AI to end the game. Especially since the action I'm taking soon is... like we're definitely going to spend and evacuate. Okay, yeah, I guess so. So we're going to take the gold. All that is to say, yes, I think we're taking the gold. Right, your turn. You have rolled a 3, which is build a factory, which is the thing you are allowed to do. And it prefers to do this thing. So, sorry, this... We are no longer first player. You are now the first player. You construct a 3-point factory. Congratulations. What new factory did it reveal? Gold and water becomes neutronium and a point. That's pretty good. Actually, interesting for us, potentially. But I think right now what we need to do is... We have 6 geniuses. So we could... How many bodies do we have? 2. We could go to the nomads, trade our neutronium for a gold plus a uranium, right? And then do our evacuation with 4 gold, and then do the uranium to water trade instead of the neutronium to water trade. That'll cost exactly all of our mech suits. But it will mean that we did score actually a pretty considerable number of points off of our evacuate. And then the game just ends at the end of phase, the end of the last phase, as it normally does. Or the end of Era 7, I'm saying. So I think that's not bad, actually. We're going to do this. So, you become this plus this. And we only do one trade, right? Yeah. Because we definitely need to have either a neutronium or one of these available. We're going to have, like, no mech suits for the final turn, though. Right, because I'm going to leave myself with... If we evacuate now... Yeah, that's going to be really ugly. I think we're doing it. I think that's right. It's just boy, our last turn's going to be weird. I guess in one player that's not so bad because the AI's turn is short if your turn is short. All right, so it gets the final refresh, which it does pull off with 7 water. So pretty good news for the AI there. And then we play refresh. Oh no, sorry, we play... Oh no. Oh no, I mathed it bad somewhere. Shit. Yeah, I needed to have one worker available to do this and then one worker available to do that. Do I have somebody coming back? I do. Okay. So he'll come back ready. So we could do our refresh at the beginning of next turn instead. So maybe we recruit? I mean, we could just... Yeah, we have this available. I guess this is how we solve that problem. Alright, let's take this space. It does cost the water, even though the water thing is covered. When we do it, it wakes everybody up. And then we recruit a genius, obviously, with our genius. And we take a power core as the recruitment bonus. I do believe. I think that is the only thing that makes sense. So we actually, now, we could hit the refresh button. Because we will have the water. But I guess it makes no sense to do that. We wait until next turn. Alright, your turn. You got a 6, so you are buying a super project. Okay, what are the rules for this? It just takes the one with the highest victory point value, oldest if tied. So 6s... Nope, there's a 7. Can it take the one... It can't take one from the future, can it? It says just the one with the highest victory point value, but there's no way for a player to reach into the future under normal circumstances, so I'm gonna say it probably grabs Welfare Society for 6 points. And then... Yep, that's a shame. I wish that hadn't happened. Okay, so now it's my turn. Now we absolutely, for sure, commit someone to this. I don't know if it matters terribly what kind of person it is. We have so many geniuses now. We have 5 ready geniuses. Alright, so we burn that for 6 water. No. There we go. We are only going to have 2 suits for the final turn, I'm pretty sure. Oh, the AI, sorry. When the AI did that, it had to cover up an action space. Yeah. Okay, now it's the AI's turn. And it rolls a 5. Where's the 5? The 5's here. You do not have... Oh, sorry. You cannot do that, though. You do still move your token forward. But there are no building spaces left. So you get points and water. Sweet, sweet water and points. Alright, and then it's my turn, and I am out. Right? We don't want to do the refresh this turn. We want to wait until next turn. Because we're going to have some tired people back, and also it's totally non-contentious, and there's no way we run out of workers. So yeah, we take... we pass, the round ends. You guys go back to the tired area. I mean, we can buy up the 3rd worker. We don't have to do the last refresh. It's okay if we don't. That got flipped. Yeah, and you get your suits back. Okay. So, no game end. We just move on to the final phase, Focus 2 Era 7, where we could build the Particle Collider. Oh hey, it's the Suit Up Lab. Probably a little bit late to be useful, sadly. This becomes 1 scientist, 1 of you, 2 administrators. And the final mine card has a thing in it naturally. Okay, a couple of titaniums come out. Titania? How do you pluralize titanium? It's not a thing that comes up very often, I think. Alright, we enter the final era. We are totally... I have no idea how we're doing relative to the AI in score, by the way. Oh, you should also be in the tired zone. Yeah, no idea at all. So, paradox phase. I roll for paradoxin. Please, please, please do not double me. Okay, that's fine. And then the AI rolls here. Oh, and it does get a double, and then it rolls here. Yep, okay, the AI is officially on the bad luck side. The AI is one anomaly above where it would be if it had just taken 1 paradox each time. So bad luck for you. I'll take it. Then we enter a power-up phase, where I'm going to power up, I think we have to, right? I'll find the water, or I won't. Also, not doing it is fine. And then the AI obviously gets its 4max, and then we enter warp phase, and I do not warp, I don't think. Right, like, the only thing we might want to build is that lab, and there's no universe where we get this together. What's the victory point value on the lab? 2? I mean, the victory point value is it gives you a mech. That's that's the real point here. So what are we trying to do this turn? We have to execute our evacuate. So we have an opportunity here to juice up the evacuate a little bit more. Because we have 7... geniuses. We could get up to 7. Yeah, we could get up to 7 gold. So we go to the mine once. Our tectonic drill gets us a 3rd gold from the mining action. We hit this for 1 billion. And then... I don't even know what our 3rd mech does, honestly. So we don't actually... Yeah, we definitely don't need to warp anything. I feel comfortable with that. Does the AI warp? It does, just a little bit. It's addicted, you know, it can't help itself. And there's no version of this where I build the particle collider, right? We don't have any breakthroughs or... Yeah, that's not happening. Oh, also, right, I can't fit super projects. So, that's warp phase. Now it is action rounds time, and obviously it's critically important to me that we do this. So here's a thing. Actually, I should take gold neutronium, right? And then, for my tectonic drill, get a gold. My 3rd exosuit can go to the trader and get us some stuff. Can trade the neutronium for a gold plus a uranium to pay this off. We don't end up getting the final refresh, but that's only a 2-point loss. It's not so bad. I think that's actually right. Plus, keeping neutronium off of the AI's board still has value. Alright, the AI rolls a 1, and it does a time travel. Then I am sending an administrator out to trade. So the neutronium becomes uranium plus gold. And It doesn't make sense to trade this water for anything, does it? I guess the water could become materials as well. But there's no way I can build anything, right? No, because I don't have a mech suit left anyway. Yeah, so actually, here's a question. Is this play that I'm making right now worth more than the 2 points I would get by just leaving a mech suit powered? And the answer is... kind of? So without doing this, I either have to not take the neutronium, or I have to not take a gold, or I have to not take a uranium, or I have to have taken one less gold over here to get the uranium. So I think the actual answer is, no matter how I do this, it's worth 2 points. If I had left the mech suit unpowered, but just taken different resources over here, I think the net score is the same, right? So yeah, who cares? The answer is, I'm fine. And I'm pretty sure it doesn't make any sense to change this out, because we have exactly enough gold to match up to our geniuses. If we were short, we could have done something else. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, so... oh, actually, no. If I do a water trade now for uranium something, I don't know, whatever, then I can do this to get up to 7 water, and I can still get the ready. Yeah, that's the right play. Alright, so we did our thing. We took our trade action. Now it is the AI's turn. The AI rolls a 5 and does some research. Okay, the AI would like to... wait, how does this... it always rolls the shape die, right? Yep, only roll the shape die. So it's sure hoping for a triangle. Looks like it did not get a triangle. Yeah, sure. Take this one. This one is this one is depicted on one of the things. Okay, then we go... engineer in here turns that into 6 water. Yeah. Alright, then the AI's turn. The AI rolls a 3 and would like to build a lab, which it can do. So it builds the higher victory point lab, completing the lab stack. Then it doesn't matter how we do this, right? Just have somebody pull the evacuation. So at this point, we receive 2 points for successful evacuation with 3 life supports, plus 3 points for each pair of Genius plus Gold, which is 7. 7 pairs. So we receive 23 points. That's a pretty good evacuation, in my opinion. It's a hell of a lot better than the evacuations that I saw in the game that we did multiplayer. Where we were both just kind of scrabbling to have enough stuff to even do it. Alright, 23 points. Solid. A solid use of 1 worker. The AI would like to take action 3, which is also research. Wait, is that what just happened? Did I just roll a 3? Did I forget to move its die? I forget, and part of the magic of this format is that I can just go check. So I'm going to go make sure that I actually moved that. Hold on a second. Okay, no, we're good. The 3 had just been rolled, but it was on this when it was rolled. That's right, the lab just happened. You know how my memory is. Okay, so once again we roll the shape die. This time it's a circle. Is that what you wanted? It's not. The poor AI has been getting horrible luck. So, yeah, the processor circle is depicted on one of the things. Let's take that, shall we? What a nightmare. Alright, and then it's my turn, and I am definitely playing the refresh action to spend all 7 of my water to refresh a small number of people and then boost morale once. Hey, look at that. 2 points. Water's not worth anything by itself, so... Alright, and then, I think that was our last actions. The AI acts, and then we pass, and that ends the game. The AI has rolled Get Water. Probably not the most relevant final play. And then, yeah, I think we're done. Right, there's no... Yeah, there's nothing else I can even do. So, that's the end of the game. Let's score it out. So the Chronobot does not lose victory points for warp tiles on this stuff. Let me make sure. I'm going to go to the end of game procedure here in the rulebook to make sure that I do this correctly. Here we go. First of all, when you reach game end, untangle the continuum. At this point, players must straighten out problems they have remaining on the timeline. They must fulfill every outstanding warp tile to remove them from the timeline. So I can fulfill this one. I cannot fulfill that. I could not leave a suit up. So for each warp tile they are unable to remove from the timeline, they lose 2 victory points. And also, you know, this does not count as time travel, so it doesn't move us up the track at all. And then we just go to score. So, buildings, anomalies, super projects, your time travel track, your morale track, your victory point tokens, your timeline penalties, which we've already processed. Yeah, that's up. And each individual breakthrough is worth 1 VP. In addition, a set of 3 breakthroughs with different shapes is worth an additional 2 VP. The poor Chronobot. It just couldn't figure out how to do triangles. Nobody's ever seen a triangle before. It's a very confusing shape for it. It's very clearly based on the Saturn architecture. So, let's just pull out the... I got some victory point counter objects here. Let's just pull some of these out and make this happen. Here, you get one as well. Alright, so, for us, first of all, victory points from buildings. A meager 5. Then we don't lose anything from anomalies. Our super projects are worth a total of 20 points, which is pretty okay, I think. Then our time travel track is worth nothing. That's a real shame. Our morale track is worth a further 8. Our victory point tokens are worth a total of 21, bringing me to 54. And this is not looking like an amazing score. To be fair, at the very least, we are scoring... This is higher than I scored in the game that I played, the multiplayer game that I played. And that's actually it, right? Timeline penalties we already resolved. And I have no breakthroughs. So I think I just scored 54 points. This is what happens when you don't time travel at all. I mean, I don't feel horrible about it, because like I said, it is a couple points higher than I scored the first time I played. But it's certainly not as high as the scores I was seeing people talk about online. Alright, let's see how the AI has done. So first up, buildings. This is going to be a lot. This is going to be a really ugly number here. Nope, get off of there. So 7 points for those, plus 6 points for these. Oh dear. 2 and 3 and 2 is another 7 points. And then 3 and 2 and 4 is another 9. That's not bad. Super projects, you have the 1 super project for 6 points. Your time travel track is worth another 8. Oh no, sorry, that's your morale track. Your time travel track is worth 6. Okay, so those are both pointed now. And... raw victory point tokens. Right, that's worth a fair amount. You got 11 points of those to 60. And then we'll just go ahead and put those breakthroughs in as well for 64. And I believe that is a final score. Yep. So 64 to 54. I gotta tell you, I thought I was doing better than all that. I don't know if I failed to count something. It feels like I should have failed to count something, because this is a bad number. Especially when I nailed that huge evacuate, I was like, okay, we're doing it now. But here's the deal. I haven't played this game very many times, so it makes sense that I'm bad at it, right? That's not an unbelievable result. So I think that is, in fact, the final score. I have been humiliated by the Chronobot, but this humiliation will not stand. There are 4 factions in this game, and I think there's a very good chance that we're going to come back and try all 4 of them. So this has turned out to be tremendously long, and thank you all very much to anybody who stayed through the whole thing. Let me know, as people so often do, if you saw me screwing up rules so that I can get them right in the future videos, and come back next time, probably tomorrow, for another faction and another attempt. We will not let the Chronobot hold us down 4 times in a row, right? Couldn't happen. Couldn't possibly. Can you imagine the embarrassment? I definitely can. Come back next time tomorrow to see if we are starting in that direction. And we'll see you then.